You hatch from the egg, somewhere in the forests of eastern North America, tucked inside a slit in a tree branch where your mother laid you 6 weeks ago. Your body is small and pale, and your front legs are already built like hooks, thick and curved for digging rather than walking. You need to get to the soil before anything finds you here, so you drop from the branch the moment you clear the egg membrane, falling through the open air and landing on the leaf litter below. You start moving immediately, pushing forward through the leaves and finding the exposed soil beneath them. You need to get underground as fast as your legs can move, so you push your front legs into the soil and pull the rest of your body after them, digging down through the first loose layer and into the packed earth below. The light above you disappears as you go deeper, closing off behind you with each push of your legs. You stop digging when your front legs reach something solid and smooth beneath the loose soil, a root pressing through the dark from somewhere above you towards somewhere below. You drive your mouthparts into it and pull the sap through until your body settles into the stillness that comes with having found what it needed. You're underground now, in complete dark, attached to a root that will feed you for as long as you need it to. The surface you just came from is less than an arm's length above your head right now. Every sound from above reaches you as a muffled vibration through the soil. All of it seems very far away already. You won't see it again for 17 years. And the tree above you, whose root you're currently attached to, will grow through all of those years without knowing you're here. Several years have passed underground, and your body has grown through 2 molts since you first attached to the root, each time splitting your old covering and pulling free into a slightly larger version of yourself before hardening again. You've moved to a deeper root since the first one, following the stronger flow of sap further down through the soil. You need to keep feeding without drawing attention to your position, so you stay pressed against the root and hold your mouthparts steady, drawing the sap in the slow, consistent rhythm you've been maintaining for years without interruption. Something moves through the soil nearby, pushing through it with blunt force rather than the careful tunneling you use. A mole, working along a path it's made through the compacted earth, angling toward the root you're attached to. You need to get off the root before it reaches your position, so you pull your mouthparts free and push yourself into the soil away from the approaching vibration, digging sideways and downward until the vibrations from the mole fade behind you. You stop when the soil around you is still again. You find a new root in the dark, pushing your mouthparts through its surface and settling back into the feeding rhythm you were pulled from. The mole's path crosses the spot you just vacated, its body pushing through without slowing. It doesn't stop. It keeps moving past the empty space where you were attached and disappears further along its path. You stay still until all trace of its vibration has faded from the soil around you. You've been underground for years already, and you still have more years left than you've already spent. The root you're on now is thicker than the last one, and the sap through it runs steadier. Many years have passed now, deep enough that the world above the soil has cycled through more seasons than you've kept track of. Your body has grown through 4 molts in total, each one leaving you closer to the shape you'll eventually need at the surface. You detect something wrong in the soil near your position. A texture spreading through the root you're attached to, different from the normal grain of the wood, moving through the substrate in a slow expansion. Fungus, the kind that finds nymphs in the soil and works its way into the body from the outside if you stay in contact with it long enough. You need to leave this root before the contact spreads far enough to matter. So you pull your mouthparts free and start pushing through the soil in a new direction, moving away from the infected section and toward a different part of the root system further along. You find a clean section of root after a stretch of tunneling and attach again, your mouthparts driving through the surface and reaching the flow inside. The sap coming through this section is undisturbed and clear. You stay at this position for a long stretch of time, feeding without moving while the years continue around you. The root system you're working through stretches in every direction further than you've ever explored. The sap running through it comes from a tree whose base is directly above you. That tree has grown through every year you've been underground, and its root system has grown with it. You're getting closer to something, though you have no way to name it. Your body knows what it is, even if the counting of years means nothing to you the way it would to something living above the soil. All you know is that the pull is there, and it's been getting stronger for longer than you've been aware of it getting stronger. Skip forward a long stretch of time, and something in your body has started building. The sap you've been drawing has been going into a different kind of growth than it has been for years, and your front legs have started pushing upward in their sleep, as if they've already decided what's next before the rest of you has. You need to start working toward the surface while enough time remains to reach it. So you begin pushing upward through the soil, your front legs carving through the compacted earth above you in short, deliberate bursts, building a tunnel toward the surface that widens slightly as you go. You stop about an inch below the surface and wait. Your tunnel reaches nearly to the top. You can feel through the soil the particular warmth that's been pulling at your body for weeks now. The temperature above the soil matching something your body has been waiting for since long before you understood what waiting was. You hold position just below the surface while the warmth builds through the day. Your body is pressed into the top of the tunnel, with a thin ceiling of soil above you all that separates you from the open air. You've spent 17 years moving through soil and you know how to read it, and what you're reading now tells you that it's almost time. You push through it when the signal in the soil reaches the point it's been working toward. The surface gives way under your front legs. The open air reaches you for the first time in 17 years. You are not the same shape you went in as, and you are not done changing yet. The air hits you before the light does, and you start climbing the nearest tree trunk before your eyes have adjusted to having a sky above you for the first time in 17 years. Thousands of others are doing the same thing all around you. Pale shapes, moving up every tree trunk and fence post and surface tall enough to get you off the ground. You need to get high enough before your old covering splits, so you climb without stopping, your hooked front legs finding the bark and pulling you upward until you're several feet off the ground and pressed flat against the trunk. Your covering splits along the back, and you push yourself free of it slowly, working your body out through the opening while the old nymphael shell stays hooked to the bark behind you. Your new body is white and soft, your wings still compressed against your back and not yet expanded. You need to expand your wings before they harden in the wrong position, so you pump fluid through the veins running through them, the wings spreading outward and pressing flat until they reach their full size, longer than your body and clear enough to see through. You hold still on the bark while the rest of your new body hardens, your white coloring deepening toward the dark tones your species carries as the hours pass. A bird drops to a nearby branch and takes the cicada emerging on the trunk beside you, carrying it off before its covering has finished hardening. You stay still. Your covering is still finishing, and you are not the last one on this tree, nor the first. There are too many of you out here for the birds to reach all of them, and that is the only reason any of you survive this part. The bird comes back and takes another cicada from a branch several feet away while your covering is still hardening, and you hold your position and wait. Your covering finished hardening while the sun was still up, and your wings tested clean in a short practice flight between two nearby branches before you found a position in the canopy to spend the rest of the hours in. Your stomach is pulling at plant fluid from a thin twig near where you're resting, your adult mouth parts drawing the same kind of sap your nymph body was built to reach underground. Something reaches you that isn't sap and isn't food. A sound coming from a distance through the canopy, a wall of it from every direction at once, building in layers the way nothing you've heard before has built. You need to find the source before you understand what it is, so you push off your branch and fly toward where the sound is densest, your wings carrying you through the canopy and down toward the area where the trees are thickest with sound. You land among hundreds of others, pressed along the same branches, their bodies vibrating at the same frequency from the tymbals on their abdomens. You need to add your call to theirs, so you pull your own tymbals tight and let them snap back. The sound that comes out of your body joins the wall of sound around you in the same instant. You've never made this call before, but your body knew how to make it before you were born, and it sounds exactly the way it was supposed to sound. You hold your position in the chorus and keep calling, your body producing the same signal it will produce every hour you spend above ground for the rest of your life. Somewhere in the canopy above you, something is listening for exactly this. You're 2 weeks into your adult life, and your calling has been continuous across every stretch of time you've spent in the canopy, your tymbals firing through each day without stopping. Today, something lands on the branch near you that lands differently than the others, moving with a deliberate path toward where you're calling from, rather than finding its own calling position. A female, her body larger than yours, her wings folded flat against her back. She's been moving between calling males for the past several days, reading each call and deciding whether to stay or continue. Today, she's stopped near where you are. She clicks her wings twice in the brief pattern that signals acceptance, and you move toward her along the branch. The mating is quick and direct. The two of you press together for a short time before she pulls away and lifts off the branch. You watch her fly toward the thinner branches at the tips of the nearby trees, where she'll use the sharp structure at the end of her abdomen to cut slits in the bark and deposit the eggs inside. She'll place hundreds of them spread across dozens of twigs over the coming days. The slits she cuts will weaken the branch tips and they'll brown and drop, but the eggs inside them won't need the branch to survive. You stay in your calling position after she's gone. There are others listening, and your body still has time left, but your wings are wearing at the edges in a way they weren't when you first expanded them, and the sap you're drawing takes longer to fill you than it did a week ago. The surface is already different than it was when you arrived. 3 weeks have passed since you emerged, and the canopy around you is quieter than it was at the peak. The density of calling males thinning as the weeks pass, and the bodies of the ones who emerged earliest have finished what they came up to do. You're still calling, your tymbals still firing through each stretch of time you spend in the trees, but the sound your body makes takes more effort to sustain than it did when you started. Your wings are worn through in 2 places now, small tears at the trailing edges that don't affect your flight, enough to matter, but show in the way the light catches them. Your legs grip the bark with less force than they did when you first climbed this tree. You're still calling when a bird drops out of the canopy above you, fast and direct, not exploring the way birds explore when they're unsure what they're looking at. It's been watching the canopy for the past 17 minutes, and it's done being unsure. Your wings push away from the bark before you've registered that it's coming, the same flight reflex that's been carrying you through the canopy for 3 weeks. But the reflex fires slower than it would have 2 weeks ago. and the bird is already past the point where the difference doesn't matter. The canopy keeps making the sound it's been making since the emergence began. The remaining males still calling from every branch and trunk, their bodies still finishing the work they spent 17 years underground preparing to do. The eggs your female is laying right now in the tips of the thin branches above where you were calling will fall to the soil in a few weeks, and what hatches from them will spend the next 17 years in the dark, feeding on roots and waiting for the same signal your body spent all that time waiting for. They won't remember you. They don't need to. The waiting is already built into what they are.